Institute for Faith and Freedom at Grove City College presents Liberty Mail with the Student Fellows of Faith and Freedom.
Hello and welcome to Liberty Mail. I'm Grace Riley.
And I'm Katie Kenline.
And we're coming to you from the Confronting Antisemitism Conference here at Grove City College.
We're excited to bring you exclusive interviews with conference speakers, and we hope you enjoy this series.
Hello and welcome to Liberty Mail. My name is Grace Riley, and we're here at the Confronting Antisemitism Conference and joined by a very special guest, a friend of Grove City who comes and speaks every year. We're fortunate to hear him, Michael Medved, who hosts a daily talk show and radio that combines politics and pop culture. And it's just such a pleasure to have you join me. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you. It's always wonderful to be here, even with inclement weather.
Yes, we just trekked through the rain to get here. But he just spoke on America and the Abrahamic advantage. And it would be wonderful if you could just share highlights from your talk, just main points for people at home who maybe weren't able to attend the conference, because I know it was a really good one. There were a lot of engaging questions at the end that I was able to hear.
Thank you. Basically, I was starting off with asking a question. What's your favorite Bible verse? And unfortunately for me, Mike Pence, just minutes before, had cited that same verse. Mm-hmm. So I had to change the beginning. And my favorite Bible verse, or the one at least for the purpose of this argument, is not love your neighbor as yourself. President Trump says his favorite verse is an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but we'll leave that aside. My favorite verse would be Genesis 12, 1-3. Where it says, I will bless you and all those who bless you will be blessed. This is God promising the future for the children of Abraham. And then those who curse you will be cursed. And in other words, that basically people who prosecute and persecute and oppress Jewish people are not going to do well. And I really do believe that part of the special blessing that I've written two books about the United States, part of that blessing comes from America's unusually welcoming, warm, supportive relationship with the Jewish people. And what I told people about here is how some of our earliest leaders, like John Adams, visualized America using its power. And Adams wrote a letter like this in 1819, which is a very long time ago when you think about it. But he wrote a letter speculating about what it would be like if the most famous Jew in America, whose name was at the time Mordecai Emanuel Noah, was at the head of an army of 100,000 Israelites liberating Judea and allowing the Jewish people to come back to their homeland. And the fact that there are so many American Christians who have shared and supported this dream of Jewish return, this vision that is a prophetic vision all over the Bible about the Jews suffering, but then returning in triumph to renew the covenant in our own homeland. And by the way, so I live in Seattle, not Jerusalem, but my brother went to make his life in Jerusalem 40 years ago, and he now has 14 Israeli-born grandchildren.
Wow. Which
was part of what I wanted to send here was, look, this is a conference about anti-Semitism. It's a grim subject. I mean, it's had a grim cost in America recently, even with the horrors in Squirrel Hill at the Tree of Life Synagogue. And yes, there is anti-Semitism, has been anti-Semitism in American history, but I think it's very important that people get the message that's not the norm. The norm has been the people that I cited, from Herman Melville to George Washington to John Adams to Harry Truman, to important American leaders, thought leaders, others, who see the destiny of the American people and the Jewish people as inextricably linked. And that was the message I was trying to convey.
Yeah, and certainly it's a good one, and it makes me think, too, so Vice President Pence brought up a point about, especially amongst young people, he has a hard time believing that young people are really understanding what they're standing for when they're going out and protesting. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. I think there's probably a mix there, but I think
you're right, and I think that Vice President Pence is right. Most people, especially young people, have been taught to support the victim, that the underdog is worth supporting in all cases. Now, sometimes the underdog in fights, obviously, on September 11th, the hijackers and the terrorists who killed 3,000 Americans, they were the underdog. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make them right.
Yeah.
And the idea that Jewish people no longer look like the underdog, either in Israel or here in the United States, has, I think, created a lot of resentment. People marching around on the right wing with torches at Charlottesville in front of a Reform Jewish temple on Friday night, chanting, "Jews will not replace us, Jews will not replace us." This is a resentment of Jewish success. And by the way, some of that resentment is the essence of the anti-Israel sentiment. Israel started off as a struggling third world nation, and it's become more populous, more prosperous. There were 600,000 Jews in Israel at the time of independence in May of 1948. There are now 10 million people who live there.
And it's very much a light, and it's extremely prosperous in the Middle East.
There's extremely prosperous, period. And again, and I think that's part of what people are looking at, is that that now leave aside the fact that people like Yahya Sinwar, one of the leaders of Hamas, they live like princes. They are billionaires, literally, for the money they've stolen from their own people. But the fact is that Israel losing the status of underdog has, I think, made Israel more controversial, mm-hmm. and led a lot of people to resent the success of the country and to question the way that success was achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great point, and something that isn't talked about too much. But I hope that people will go and watch your show. We have limited time now, but go and watch your show to hear more of your perspective, which is very good and wise on this issue. And I hope that more people open their eyes to everything that's going on, and just open their eyes to the attitudes about the Jewish people, as you were mentioning, and as we're seeing not only just in cities across America and across the world, but also on college campuses. That's our hope at Grove City College, that people would be standing for what's right. So I'm hopeful that more people will open to their eyes as more continue to speak out. But thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Thank you, and it really is my pleasure. And part of what I didn't get a chance to mention, mm-hmm. in the talk today is my grandfather was a barrel maker, and who came from Ukraine at the beginning of the 20th century and came to the United States. No one in his family, no one for 100 generations had ever been to anything like college. And my dad, who was born in this country right after his mother arrived here, my dad got a PhD from Penn and taught physics for years. And that possibility of going in one generation from kind of nowhere and new arrival to somebody who can make a real contribution, as I believe my late father did, that's the inspiring story of America generally, but also particularly of Jewish people in America. And that's why we should be grateful rather than guilty and fearful.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace.
For more information on the Institute for Faith and Freedom, visit faithandfreedom.com.